Hey y'all, it's Michael. So for today's video, I thought I would do this tag. I saw this tag just randomly pop up and I'll leave the original creator down below so you can check it out. It's called the self-aware reader tag. So yeah, these are just some questions I thought sounded really interesting and I thought I'd do a tag today. Alright, the first question is, what most draws you into a novel or story and makes you want to keep reading? Plot, character, writing, style, atmosphere, something else. For me, I think this would have to be like a whole package. Everything has to basically come together and then in the end, like make this really great piece of art. I love plot. Of course, I love characters. That's really important. I think writing style will be the top because once you, for me, the way I'm looking at it is like once the writing style is established, everything's, in my opinion, I think should fall into place. Like the characters will be developed, the plot will go along. I think the atmosphere, I think it's a mishmash of everything. I think my favorite authors does all of these things really important. I really do appreciate is that when an author has something to say, something very strong, like a very strong stance on something. That could be like something just like more present or something underlining within the text. I really do enjoy that. But I think for me it's a you gotta come with the whole package, okay? The whole package. Number two, what is a convention or trope that will immediately turn you off in your reading experience with a novel or story? Oh. Oh, okay, so this is more, for me, I don't really mind like trope-wise, or like also applies to a lot of things that I like media-wise that I do enjoy. Like even like with anime and whatnot, there are certain stuff with animes that I like love. Things that are continued, like there is always a beach episode, which I love those things. Like, yes, basically all animes have it, but I just really love it. I also love the fair episodes. Those are fun. But so for me, for writing, I don't really mind like a continuous use of something. I think for me that really turns me off. And it goes back to the writing style within the first question. And that's the continuous use of a sentence structure that's very repetitive, and it really grinds my gears when authors use it. Starts off with the noun and then an action verb, right? The first sentence. This next sentence would be like she. The next sentence would be like the pronoun and then the action verb and another action verb, and then the next sentence is a pronoun and action verbs. And I notice a lot of authors do this sometimes, and it grinds my gears. I hate when they do that because I read there's like a certain rhythm to certain like each author has a certain like the writing style has like this rhythm to it, this bounce, this cadence, this syntax, like the way that the words are combining together, and there's like a rhythm. Like I visualize it, if that makes any sense. And so when an author does that, it gets very repetitive and it just annoys me. The opposite with that, one thing that I surprisingly love when an author does it really well is when they infuse lists into their writing. I just really like that. I just like seeing a list done really well, flows very smoothly to the writing. I really like that. All right, number three, what appeals to you when reading nonfiction and makes you want to keep reading? Um, I think for me what appeals, I enjoy nonfiction when it doesn't have a like a very like a stuffy feel to it, if that makes any sense. Like as if I am like from a textbook standpoint, if that makes any sense. Yes, nonfiction I should be learning, but also make that learning fun, like make it enjoyable. The nonfiction that I read, it varies. Like there are even some where like it's like a narrative, like a it feels like it's a fiction, but it's still nonfiction. I really enjoy that. But even with like when you're reading something not like narrative wise, it still has to be engaging because I think that's what turns people off a lot of nonfiction is that they don't feel engaged, and I think that is the author's job to like make that information. Okay, number four, what is a convention or trope in nonfiction that will turn you off in your reading experience? Oh my god, this one thing that really turns me off in nonfiction is when the author inserts themselves into the narrative of the story and it doesn't need to be there. This is not like about a biography or something like that, like an autobiography or whatnot. This is more a perfect example of this. A perfect example of this is the story of Harriet Lacks. I'll put the picture right here. Rebecca Skloot. This is a nonfiction about Henrietta Lacks, who is basically who is the woman who all cells essentially like that scientists use to study everything essentially. A part in here towards the end where Skloot, she insert herself within the story, and I felt as though it didn't need that. I was like, if you're the author, you should know when to not insert yourself, and well, opinion is like different, so it is also like this balancing act. I do notice it now just thinking about it, but you should know as an author when not to do that. And I don't really like it when authors do that, and it's not done well. It could be done, okay? I'm not saying that it couldn't be done. I just think that it still has to serve the non-fiction part, like the other part that is important, if that makes any sense. You know what I'm saying? Number 5, would you say you read more for pleasure and enjoyment or more to learn and exercise your brain? I think it's all of that. For me, when I am reading, there are certain, especially like the books that I love, there's one, it's always for fun and pleasure. It should be fun, okay? I'm not reading this just because like just to do it. I really enjoy it, so that's like the pleasure part, and it's really fun. But I should also be learning, if that makes any sense. Like, even if it's like a stupid book, whatever that constitutes as, doesn't even mean nonfiction. It should just mean like I'm learning something, whether that be how to better myself within a character that I'm like reading about and seeing how they're approaching life, or if I'm like, or even like with the writing style, it should be like, oh, the way that that sentence is used, that etc etc. I think it should be all of that. And I think the best books accomplishes all of that, in my opinion. Number 6, which type of books are you likely to rate more highly and enjoy more overall? Brain candy, pleasure slash enjoyment books, or brain protein, learning slash exercise books? Ooh, this is a really good question. Again, I think this goes back to what I mentioned earlier. It should be all of that. Like, I feel as though the best books really do have some sort of like a really good grasp at everything. It should, even with the nonfiction or like even just fiction, again, it should be fun, it should be pleasure, it should make you think, it should be like smart, everything about it. Like, even the best books. Do you have a sense early on of whether or not the books you're reading will be a 5-star read or a book you will really like? Has a book ever surprised you in this? I think early on, I think I can get a sense. That's why when I do like those book reviews, I try to do it like a first impression within usually the 50-100 page, depending on how big the book is, and then the middle point, and then at the end. Because sometimes when I rewatch like when I'm editing and rewatching those clips and adding them together, I can see sometimes my attitude really changing, or sometimes I just was like, am over it. A really good example of this is my short story collection reviews. A lot of those, like half of those, are, you could see I'm super excited in the beginning. I'm excited at the beginning. Like, I'm really excited to start this new collection. But then some of the stories, like, you could tell my excitement starts to wane dramatically. There is one collection that you could tell I was just like over it. I'm not gonna say the book because I don't want y'all to look for it, because I remember when I was editing that video, I said, dang, I hated that book, and I sure did. I gave it 1 star. Actually, I should have gave it 0 stars. I did not like it at all. And you can see at the beginning, I was like, okay, interesting. And then towards the middle, I was like, okay. And at the end, I was like, okay, I don't care about this book at all. I'm over it. I'm done. Finished. Bye. The beginning, some books can really change, and like even the ending can really surprise you, especially like even with like thrillers and whatnot. All right, number 8. Has a book ever surprised me in this regard? I can't think of one, like a book that was like surprised me, whereas I didn't like it, and then at the end I did like it. Like, I loved it. I don't know. Yeah, nothing's coming off the top of my head. Number 8. Considering books that you've rated 5 stars in the past, or if you don't rate them, then books you really love, do you think you would feel the same way about them now? Why or why not? No. Like the books I read, I rated 5 star. Like I would have rated 5 stars when I was like a little kid starting reading. I would have never rated them. Like reading back now, some of them I would, yes. Like some of them I would be like, oh my god, this is incredible. Even now, see, this is a tricky question because like some of the books that I would have read, like even like my favorite book. Okay, I'm gonna tell y'all, and I know some of y'all will not agree, but my favorite, and it sounds very cliche, but my favorite book is Catcher in the Rye by J.D. Salinger. And that holds a special place in my heart because when I read that book for the first time in high school, I felt as though I really read someone who I felt really connected to, and the way that he views the world, I something within me, I was like, wow, I kind of get you. Like I understand this phoniness, this this facade that adults put on. And when I read it back a few years ago, what I still gave it 5 stars because I still think it has, for me, like personally, it still impacted me even though I was an adult. Ooh, this is a tricky question. Like to fully answer it, I think I would change my rating, but I could see myself really be thinking like, oh yeah, I could see why I personally rated that whatever stars it is. Because at that time when I finished it and had some time to think about it, I was like, yeah, I think that is 5 stars. But if I were to read it now and it wasn't, then I'd be like, okay, I can see why I would rate it lower. But I think with this, as I grow older, you experience more things, so you start to know more things, and then you're learning. I feel as though um, my reading taste has stayed the same, as in like I still love to explore different things, and I'm willing to just read random things. But I feel as though the way that I analyze and the way I receiving the books has changed in the way that I'm thinking about it differently. So I think that should be like a natural thing because like I mean you're growing up, you're learning different things, and now I feel like I'm rambling. So yeah, this video is already long probably. Number 9 is just tag people. I tag anyone who's doing Vlogmas. I don't know, cause yeah. So yeah, this is actually a very interesting. These were some actually really interesting questions. So yeah, if you did this tag, let me know. I would love to see your video. Until then, I'll see you guys tomorrow for another Vlogmas video. Bye.